Okay, today is March 14th, and
Yes.
we're recording Betty,
Mm-hmm.
who is my guest today at the house. We've had lunch together, and she stayed overnight. And Ken is with Bernhard in the hospital.
Yeah.
Bernhard, who's holding on a little longer, but who said his goodbyes to everybody, and we all heard him say it, and we all shared our feelings of love for each other. So Betty was telling me stories. And we got to the point where, well, I'm sure you'll tell us again and again different parts of each story, so it'll get fuller and fuller. Why don't you see what you can tell us about what was going on and how you saved your father? First tell us, when I went to get the machine, you were telling me about how he was picked up by the Gestapo. Could you start with that? They came one day.
Yes. I was in Frankfurt at the time. I was a teacher there at the Jewish school. And when I called home, my mother said that they had taken Dad, and he was for a day and a night in the prison in Herborn.
But describe how they came with a truck and emptied the shop.
Well, that was before.
Describe that.
One day, I was not at home, my mother was alone. There was a big wagon pulling up, and they cleared out everything without asking, and took everything along, all the clothing, all the materials in the store, everything.
Where was Max?
Max was already sitting he was in the Rathaus, in the prison there.
Oh, so they picked him up first.
They picked him up first. And my mother was sitting for, I think, 20 hours on the toilet.
From fear.
For fear. Outside our apartment was like you went up the steps and there was a big glass thing with a door. The toilet was outside. We had 5 rooms. And my mother was sitting outside at the toilet.
She was hiding, you mean?
Hiding.
So she was not in the shop when they came in?
She was in the house when they came.
So they just broke in?
No, they just came in
Uh-huh.
with a big wagon and took everything.
And she was watching this happen?
Yes,
And then she went to hide?
yes. My father was already sitting across the street.
In the Rathaus?
Yes.
Now tell us about how he was picked up. A couple days earlier.
I was not at home at the time. And they picked him up and brought him to the Rathaus. They was sitting, it was a prison in the bottom of the Rathaus, in the cellar. And my mother was at home alone. And I was in Frankfurt at the time. And then my boss, the head of the school in Frankfurt, told me, would I please come back, they need my help. And as soon as I can. And I went, left my mother alone.
What did they need your help for?
School. The school, there was a chaos in the school because they came and took all the men out, all the male teachers. And the kids were all terribly upset, naturally. We had a great part. The orphanage was about 3 blocks away from the school, and from the country where they had done already all kinds of things, the people brought the kids to the orphanage in order to save the kids.
Uh-huh. Yes.
And we had them there. And they all were hysterical. And And then they, of course, cleared out everybody in our school, the men. They took all the men. And
What was the name of the school you were teaching in?
Jüdische Volksschule und Jüdische Hochschule. Yeah, in Frankfurt.
You said you were teaching in 3 schools.
Yes, and I used to travel to Offenbach, which was about an hour away. I went on bicycle, everything by bicycle, no car. And I used to communicate this way, or
Travel?
travel that way, always on my bike.
So where did you teach? Where did you teach in Offenbach?
Also at the Jewish school.
And what was the third
Also
place?
in Darmstadt.
Darmstadt.
Yes.
How far away was that?
That was about an hour away from Frankfurt. In the middle, about middle was Offenbach. In the 3 different places. And I went everywhere with my bike.
So you taught gym
Yes.
in each of these schools?
I taught gym. And in Germany, the gym teacher also had to teach handicrafts, sewing and stuff like that.
Oh.
Yes.
So now back to your father's story.
Yes.
So now he's in the jail in
the concentration
in the
in
Rathaus.
Buchenwald.
No, in Rathaus. How did he get from Rathaus in Herborn
Yes.
to Buchenwald? What happened next?
They transported him. I didn't know where he was. And I first went to the Bürgermeister in Herborn, and he told me that they took him to Frankfurt. And I went to Frankfurt, and I went to the demand to... I had to stand almost a full day till I could get to the headquarters of the Nazis.
In line, you mean? In line?
In line and across the street, and I watched till everybody was out of the building. I thought was out of the building, so I could go and talk to... I wanted to know where they took my father.
So I heard that somebody told you to wait until the 2 guards, that one of them went for a break, so there would be only one.
Yes.
Is that what happened?
I waited, yes.
Just give a sense of distances. What's the distance between Herborn and Frankfurt?
About an hour by train. A
So
little bit more.
you used to take the train to go back home.
Always, yes.
Okay, so now you're in Frankfurt, and your father's been transferred to Frankfurt,
Yes.
and your mother is sitting at home doing nothing because the shop is empty.
Yes.
And you waited a whole day to go into the Nazi headquarters.
Yes. And I was told to wait till nobody would come out anymore. And I waited for about an hour and a half across till less and less people came out. And then when I thought it was empty, I went in. And I found that there was a very nice man who let me in. And I told him what I wanted, that I wanted to know where my father was. Because I know they did send him from Frankfurt. And does he know of anything and where? And he looked up and he said, yes, we came to Frankfurt, and they took him from there to Buchenwald, which was one of the concentration camps.
Mm-hmm. So now let me go back in time. One day, and we don't have the date, your father's picked up and taken to the Rathaus.
Yes.
He spends 2 days there.
Yes.
And from there they sent him to Frankfurt.
Yes.
And how long do you think he spent in Frankfurt? What amount of time are we talking about?
Not much, about a day or 2.
And from there they sent him to Buchenwald.
Buchenwald, yes.
Okay, go ahead, continue your story.
Well, in Buchenwald he was, I don't know, with 1,000 others.
How long?
Oh, maybe a week or 2. I don't recall exactly.
Before you told me maybe 3.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't.
So in the meantime, so now you know where he is. What did you do next?
Next, I tried. I was traveling between my job and my mother and to Frankfurt to find out where my father was, because there were several camps.
But they told you Buchenwald.
And then they told me that he was in Buchenwald.
What did you do next?
In Buchenwald, what I did next to get, first of all, a letter to Leo, telegram to please help us. And Leo was here in America.
Why Leo?
Because Leo worked for an outfit that made pocketbooks in Offenbach, which was the next town. And he was every year here a few months with
here is
to sell
in Germany.
in Germany
In America.
in America what they manufactured in Offenbach.
I see.
Yes.
So when you sent a telegram to Leo, you were sending a telegram to Herborn, or you were sending a telegram to America?
No, in Herborn.
You were sending it to Herborn.
Yeah. To please help us. And that I told him of the situation, and that my father had 3 weeks to get out of the country.
Now wait a second. You didn't tell me that already.
Yeah.
Now let's go back. Let's not skip anything.
Yeah.
He's still in Buchenwald.
Yes.
How did you get him out of Buchenwald?
I did not get him out of Buchenwald. I tried. And when I told to my mother one day that I was working on it to get him out, she said, "You want to talk to him?" He was home. He had come home.
Well, what happened to the story about the Iron Cross? Somebody gave you the idea about the Iron Cross.
Yes, to send a letter to the camp.
Somebody told you to do that?
Yes.
So what did you write in this
I
letter?
write to him
What did you write?
that they should please let my dad go.
Who did you write to? The commandant?
Yes. And that my father had the Iron Cross, which he had with him.
He had it with him?
I don't think. Maybe I sent it.
You sent
I
it?
sent it. The letter to please let him out, and that we would be able to go away in time to go to America.
Did they write back to you, or did they just release him?
They just released him.
Okay. So
Then
then you can go back to the story of your mother. You were talking to your mother on the phone,
On the phone.
and she said, "You want to speak to him? Here he is."
Yes.
Okay. So it was a surprise.
Yes, it was.
So do you remember how long it took between the writing of the letter and hearing his voice?
Maybe 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're back to my first question. He's home. How did you get him out of the country? You got him to England.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
My Aunt Frida had friends in London.
Did Frida's friends sponsor him in London?
And Frida's friends sponsored him in London.
So the people...
No, Frida's friends, the Oppenheimers.
The
where I was
Oppenheim-
in London, yes.
Okay, the Oppenheimers sponsored your father.
Yes,
So they sent a letter
yes,
from London to Herborn.
yes.
This has to happen very quickly.
Yes, it had to happen very quickly because I had 2 weeks.
So you receive a document,
Yes.
and then what happened? What did you do with your father? You took him to where? How did he travel to London? Did he go by train?
He went by, I don't even know, by train or by plane, I don't even know.
You don't remember.
No, I don't remember that.
But he got out of the country before
He got
2 weeks.
out of the country.
Now, he's out of the country and he's someplace in London sponsored by the Oppenheims.
Yes.
Oppenheimers or
Oppenheimers.
Oppenheimers?
Yes.
Do you remember the names of the family?
He was a doctor, Dr. Oppenheimer.
Are these the people you ended up working for?
Yes.
Okay. Now you're trying to get your mother out,
Yes,
but you ended up in London.
in London.
First, how did you get to London? How much later did you go to London? A couple weeks later?
Well, yes, it happened. It went all very quickly. Within
Within-
2 weeks.
Within 2 weeks, you were in London also.
Yes, I was in London. I took the position at the Oppenheimers as a maid
Yeah,
and girl for everything.
yeah.
And they helped me to get my father out.
Yeah, but your father's already in London. He's in London before you.
No, I was before him.
You went first.
Yes,
That's why you don't remember how he came, because you were in London.
yes, I was in
That's
London.
why you don't remember it.
Yes.
You didn't see it.
Yes,
Okay, so you went first,
yes.
and within days, probably, he followed.
About 2 weeks.
So you went right away after he arrived.
Yes.
From Buchenwald.
Yes,
Because all of this has to happen before 2 weeks.
yes,
You go to the Oppenheimers, and then you greet your father when he arrives.
yes.
And where did he go live? You went to live with the Oppenheimers. Where did he go?
I found a room for him in the east of London, and I installed him there, and he really was partially out of it. He wasn't quite there for 3 weeks he had hardly anything to eat, and he had to sleep on the floor, and they constantly threatened him if he's not cooperating, they would shoot him. And he saw lots of his friends going. One day they lined him up, and they said every fifth is going to be shot because they have too many. So they shot. He was lucky. And,
I think he was lucky because he had a very brave daughter, too.
oh, please.
Meanwhile, Fritz is in Argentina, in Mosesville.
Meantime, Fritz is in
Argentina?
Argentina, not knowing of anything.
And you're about how old in this story?
Was
20?
I 24? No,
Not younger.
maybe 24. Maybe 2, I don't know.
Okay, so now you've got him in London. You've got him installed in a little apartment, in a room someplace.
Yes,
And you're living with the Oppenheimers,
right.
and you're trying to get your mother out.
Yes.
So tell us the story about what you had to do to get your mother out.
It was very difficult. She was sitting there trying to do everything, make everything, and she told me, and I told her to come already, and it's all unnecessary, the things she's doing, the main thing that she's getting out. She had no idea what was going on.
What was she doing that she was so busy with?
She told me what she was packing. Packing. And she had a big lift van. She had all our furniture and all our whatever we owned, and were allowed to take along. And she was packing to come. And I could not tell her what I was doing.
What were you doing?
First of all, I was traveling to where my father was in the east, and I was near New Hyde Park, and I forgot the road already. And I was working and trying to commute and to see that he was well taken care of and eat.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, what was happening in London? Were there air raids?
We were already walking around with
Gas mask?
what was it? You took along what you had to.
Your gas mask?
My gas mask, of course, and what you had to take.
Backpack?
Yeah. And we saw women walking in front of you with big bags with cat tails hanging out. The English are great cat lovers.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
I thought they were eating them.
Oh no. They loved them.
Is that where you learned how to love cats?
Because it was full of mice there.
I see. That's good. That's practical.
And I had to commute, and I had to keep a house. And I took over a household with 4 that grew to 14. And I had to do all the cooking, all the cleaning, all the dishwashing, all the laundry. And the handkerchief of the man. That was the worst.
Wow. Tell me, Betty, just as a parenthesis here, you told me earlier that you wanted to go to gymnastics school.
Yes.
And your parents said, nothing doing. First you have to go to...
The Haushaltungsschule, you're a woman, you have to learn how to keep a house, and you have to learn how to raise a family.
And what did you tell me? That was a good thing you did that, right?
That saved all our lives.
Saved all your lives.
Yes.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yes.
So now go back to the story where we're trying to get your mother out of Germany.
Aye.
So what happened next? So she's packing up her lift like she's going to, as if she's going to have everything, all her household goods forever.
Yes, everything forever.
Yeah. You're writing her or calling her? How do you communicate with your mother?
Calling her.
By telephone?
By telephone.
This was easy to do?
No. Well, yes, and she called me too.
At the Oppenheimers?
Yes.
Did the Oppenheimers make you pay for the phone?
Of course. God forbid.
So wait a second. So you call your mother and you say,
would you please leave everything the way it is?
And come.
Get yourself out. Never mind about the things.
Yeah.
It's unimportant.
And what does she say?
Well, she has to cover this, and she covered all my furniture new and what she did, and...
So how did you finally get her to get out?
Oh, I don't... Well, it got worse, you know, and then I finally convinced her. I couldn't say that I was digging air raid shelters.
Yeah. Yeah.
She wouldn't have understood anyway.
Yeah.
Till I finally said that I could not do it, that Dad is very sick.
Oh.
And she must come to, because I cannot, between my job, which is at the other end of London, and my father,
Yeah.
I couldn't take care of everything, and he needs her.
So she came?
Yes, she came.
She came by plane, right?
She came by plane.
And you met, and you didn't know which airport she was going to land in.
I didn't know which plane, and I didn't know which airport.
So what did you do?
So I called the airport, what planes are coming in, and when are they coming in.
Uh-huh.
And they told me there were 2 airports in London.
Heathrow?
Heathrow
And something gate. Heathrow and Bathgate? No, I forget. Okay, 2 airports. The plan was
yes,
you
the
have 2
plan
airports.
was that we had 2 airports.
So what did
and
you
then
do?
I brought my father to one airport, and I put a chair across from where the people came out.
Yeah.
And I put him on his chair, and I told him he must sit till he sees Mother, because I do the same thing at the other airport. And then we will call each other through my job, and we will know what's going to happen. So I went.
How did you get from one airport to the other?
By bus.
Bus, my
By
goodness.
bus or whatever.
I'm already exhausted from listening to this. I can't believe how you're traveling, moving all around.
And to have the money for everything.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Fortunately. Well, my mother,
Yeah.
who's got it all together better than I have,
Yeah.
she would say, because we were not allowed to take anything out.
Mm-hmm.
So she went to work, and she sewed to my dresses, into the bottom of my dresses, and God knows where, money.
Mm-hmm.
And when my dad came, he had a Feldstecher, and he had, what do I know, he didn't have it here anymore. And
Felt glasses, you mean?
Feldstecher, you know, we tried to take everything out with which we could make money.
Oh, you mean your opera glasses?
Yes, the Ferngläser, you know, where you,
binoculars.
binoculars, yes.
Yeah.
And he came, and he gave me a letter for my mother, that I have to be very careful that I do not cut myself. She didn't pack too well. Should watch with the razors, blades. And I knew already what she did.
She put all sorts of things all over the place.
Yeah, she pressed the money into the little packages of the razor blades and put it back into the boxes. And all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
How she ever got out without being caught is a miracle.
This is into her clothing.
And in my father's
In your
clothing.
Okay, so now wait a second. Your father's waiting at one airport,
Yeah.
and you're waiting at the other airport.
Yes.
And what happens next?
I told my father not to leave the spot.
Yeah.
But the soldiers that helped me, there was one very nice one who watched me and saw how nervous I was. And I told him the story, why I'm so nervous. So he said, not to worry, he's going to help me.
What did he do?
He said, you stay where you are, and your father will come here, and then we'll see, and then we...
So he went to get your father?
So he went to one airport to get my dad, and he brought him to me. And we were waiting for my mother. When I called my boss that I was waiting, that I had my father now we have to see to get my mother. She said, you don't have to see how to get her. You want to talk to her? She went, she came, and she went, took a car and went to...
So she didn't arrive at your airport?
No, she arrived on the other airport.
And he didn't see her?
No.
So she was already at the house?
Yes.
That's a little bit like the story of your father arriving in Herborn. So then
So you know now why I'm so mixed up.
Oh yeah, it's a very mixed up world. So now what did you do with your mother? Where did she go to live? With your father in that room?
Oh, in England?
Yeah.
Oh, I find a room for him.
No, for now your mother's there.
Now my mother is there.
So where does she goes in the same room?
Went to the same room. In East London, 1 block from where I worked.
Oh, you moved them then?
No, first they lived, yeah.
Because before you said that your father lived on the other side of town from where you lived.
Yeah, and then I found a little apartment in a street in back of me, which was a very infamous street because the legalized street girls were all in this street to do their business.
Good.
And we lived here. I worked in one of the most elegant streets.
So now you've got them around the corner. This is wonderful.
No, I got them around the corner.
So wait a second. So now she's got a little money saved that she's ironed into all the clothes everywhere.
Yes.
And with this, they managed to live?
Yes.
And how long did they manage like this?
For almost a year.
And were they working at anything?
My mother always worked.
So she became a seamstress.
She immediately started in her business.
Did she have a sewing machine? No. Did you find her
No.
one? Or did she do everything by hand?
Well, we had to buy everything. We had nothing.
So you managed to save up enough money to buy...
Save enough money to
buy
buy a
sewing.
sewing machine.
So she set up shop
And my mother set up shop
in that little room.
immediately.
In that little room.
Yeah,
And what did your father do?
nothing.
Nothing. That must have been very hard.
He still was a little out of it.
Uh-huh.
And we tried to little by little get him back. He never was normally back.
Really?
Yes.
Never ever?
Well, almost. Yeah. Of what he had gone through in the concentration camp and all the,
How would you
experiences.
describe him? As a meek man, as a tough guy, as a...
He was not a tough guy, but he was not stupid.
No, I didn't say that. But
No. He
in
was
terms of his
very-
temperament,
Yes.
was he a quiet temperament or a nervous temperament?
No, he was a quiet temperament,
Uh-huh.
surprisingly.
Surprisingly?
Yes. Well, with all that he had in the camp and all that.
No, I mean, his
Before-
general temperament was a quiet temperament.
Yes, was a quiet temperament.
Hmm.
He came
So-
from a poor family.
Did you think he was not a strong man?
He was a strong man. My mother was a strong one in the family.
Your mother was a strong
Oh yes,
one.
oh yes, very smart, very strong.
Hmm. So a year you spent in England.
Yes,
You working for the Oppenheimers,
yes,
and your mother sewing,
yes,
and your father doing not much of anything.
yes,
So 1 year in London,
yes,
all three of you.
yes.
Then who left London to go to America first?
Me.
How did that happen?
Well, I got my papers.
Who sponsored you?
Leo.
Leah.
I had wired to Leo, and Leo helped all of us. I don't know how many people he got out.
Yeah.
Many people.
So he sponsored you,
Yes,
and so after a year in London, you went to America,
I went to America.
and you left your parents.
And I left my parents in London. And a day before I had my papers and ticket and everything to leave London for America, my parents got their papers to leave. So I was still able to go with them to the consul general.
Uh-huh.
And he kind of, because it was Sternberg and Sternberg, and we said we were related.
Oh, right.
And then he
You mean
asked
Leo
me,
Sternberg family?
and how we were related, and I was so mixed up that I didn't know. So finally he stopped asking me. He said, it's all right.
So, how much after you left did your parents leave?
Maybe 2-3 weeks.
Oh, that's
Yes,
good.
Maybe. It was 3 weeks. And then it was about 2 weeks till we had my brother out.
Your brother?
My brother was an Argentine.
So you don't have to take him out.
No, but we have to let him in.
I see. Okay. Oh, you're wonderful, Betty. So 3 weeks after you arrive in America, Fritz arrives also.
Yeah.
What a
Fritz
wonderful
also.
reunion that must have
Yes.
been.
Yes.
Oh, that must have been so
And
wonderful.
my parents were there already. And thank God my relatives were here already.
Who's
Max and Selma Hirschmann. She was a sister of my mother's.
that? Uh-huh.
They lived in, where we all went to the Fourth Reich,
In Washington Heights.
Washington Heights.
And Max and Selma, did they have children?
Yes, they had Hugo and Eric.
Did you stay in contact with these people?
Oh yes, oh yes.
Where is Hugo and Eric now?
Hugo died very young. He had poisoning. They had no penicillin. He had blood poisoning and he died.
And Eric?
Eric was in Leo's business with
Oh.
Bernhard. Yes, yes.
So tell me, let's go back. So now, I was asking about leaving
London.
London and going to America.
Yes.
Did they go by boat?
Yes.
And you went by boat
I
too.
went by boat.
And so you were there in New York to pick him up.
Yes.
That must have been so exciting.
And the boat trip was also beautiful.
The boat trip was beautiful. You mean that
No,
seriously?
I mean, I came on a small boat.
Yeah?
And there was a little boat standing. And we were waiting for the boat to and I said, already the boat should have, when is it coming? And it was a horrible day, like one of those really typical English dreary days. And so when I asked again, when is the boat coming, he said, it's standing there,
Oh no!
right in front of you.
You thought this was a small boat that was going to take you to the big boat?
It was a freight boat.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So how many passengers, you think?
Oh, I don't remember. I only remember,
Do you remember what year it was?
no,
Was it after the war?
it was still during the war.
I don't know, I'm asking you.
No, it was still during the war, because we were scared, because the Germans came as close as London with their boats, and they
Gunboats.
gunboats. Yeah.
So you were scared.
Oh, I sure was.
So was the boat full of people?
Full of people and full of hysterical women, with whom I had to share a room with 3 of them.
Oh,
And that's why I never went to sleep, and I danced all night.
you danced all night. Tell
Yes.
us about that.
Yes. It was almost impossible because the boat went. I thought we'd never make it.
So who were you dancing with, Betty? Who did you dance with, Betty?
Oh, I had 2 lovers
Oh, wonderful.
who wanted to take me. They were students and went to Canada.
Yeah.
And they studied medicine. And they wanted to take me with them in the
Oh.
worst way. So he said, they're going to write a letter and I shouldn't worry. They take me and take care of me. And they say that I was lost at sea.
So what were their names?
Oh, I don't remember. I don't remember.
And they both wanted you?
Yeah.
Boy, Betty. That's good. And were they friends?
They were friends, yes, they were together.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you danced all night? For 5 nights? How long did it used to...
It took 5 weeks
No.
for the crossing.
5 weeks?
I think so. No, maybe not. But much less than normally, because there were a lot of icebergs.
It takes 5 days to go normally.
Yeah, but it took at least a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you get to New York and you're greeted by Leo Sternberg?
Now you know why I'm so much sugar.
Yeah, I know. So who received you at the boat?
At the boat. There was a whole line.
Oh,
The whole mishpucha, all the men.
nice.
Yeah. And in the middle of the night. And it is quite an experience to come from a blacked out London into New York at night at 12 or 1 o'clock.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm telling you. And they were all lined up. It was, first we were in Boston, we landed in Boston.
oh.
And they wanted us to stay. And most of the people stayed. I said, I cannot stay. They wait for me in New York. And I went with a friend of mine, with a girl, together that I had met on the boat.
You still know her?
Yeah,
What's her name?
I don't remember now at the
Okay.
moment. And we came in the middle of the night in the winter. They had to dig us out 3 times because they said to us in Boston, it's very bad, we should stay, and they would see to us that we would get there in the morning and begged us not to go. But we had to go.
So wait a second, you arrived in Boston and you took the bus. There was nobody waiting for you in Boston.
No,
So they put you on a bus?
yes,
You and your friend.
yes,
And so you went to Boston and arrived where? At the Port Authority?
yes,
So they were all waiting there.
yes, all
So you're-
lined up,
So your first view of New York
Yes.
was the bus station.
yes.
And then they took you out to the city and you saw all the lights.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then they took me to
Oh, you
by
drove.
subway.
You drove through.
Who had cars? We came by subway to Washington Heights.
Oh, this is wonderful.
They used to call it, was it the Third or the Fourth
The
Reich?
Fourth, I hope.
The Fourth Reich, yeah.
The third was Hitler's.
Oh yes, it was the Fourth Reich.
So 2 weeks later, your parents arrived. Did their boat arrive?
My Aunt
To-
Frida was already there. She came from Italy.
Uh-huh. But your parents, I
parents.
want to. Did they arrive? Their boat arrived in New York or in Boston?
New York,
Their boat arrived in New York.
yes,
So you were there to pick them up.
yes,
You and the rest of the family.
yes.
So where did you live when you arrived?
I lived at the Hirschmans. She was my
Your mother's
my
cousin.
mother's sister. And for the first time since I left Germany, I slept in a bed. I always slept on a cot wherever I went.
At the Oppenheimers, they didn't give you a bed?
No. The Oppenheimers were a family of 4, and they wound up with the families of 14.
And where did you sleep?
And the maid was pushed wherever there was a hole. That was where I slept.
So you slept like on what?
A cot,
A cot.
not in a real bed. Something with wooden things and a... Yeah,
Yeah. Well, you survived it.
yeah.
So
I'm a survivor.
yeah, you are. You really are.
Yeah.
You're a wonderful survivor. You're just a wonderful person altogether. Okay. So I think we got everybody to America. I think this is a good
We got
place to stop.
Oh yes, it is. Oh yes.
We'll talk some more.